Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Healthcare Sucks Plus. We'll call this part two of Iranian Tells a Fib.
That announcement from Iran, Canada's government had been pressing for its crash investigators to be allowed in.
We repeat our call for a full and thorough investigation. We have a team of officials from Global Affairs Canada and the Transportation Safety Board in place in Ankara, in Turkey. Today, the Iranians have issued 2 visas, and we expect the other visas will be granted soon so we can begin providing consular services, help with the identification of the victims, and obviously participate in the investigation.
Well, let's go to Rob Reynolds, who's in Washington, D.C. Rob, as we've just been hearing there, the Canadians have been very vocal.
And with that being said, it'd be nice if people would appreciate the Canadians, other countries, France. You know, it seems like we're always saving their bacon. Saving Canadian bacon, saving French bacon. It's what we do. So it's time they give some respect and say thank you to the United States, I believe. Because when it comes down to it, these guys ain't going to jump up and take care of anything. Ever. Until it's at their front door. If you look back across history on some of the wars, you'll see that many of them waited too long. Well, we're not doing that apparently in the U.S. So here we go with some more.
Especially given the number of their citizens on board that plane. Does this admission mean that they're more likely to be given access that they've been pushing for?
That's possible. That is, of course, up to the authorities in Iran. And I mean, one could imagine that the authorities in Iran will be somewhat abashed now by this admission that after days of denials that their forces were responsible. So that is certainly something that may occur. Another interesting point regarding the U.S. and Canada, I think, is one to watch.
Abashed? Is that like red face caught in a lie?
Watch for. Of course, we just heard, as you've just reported, the Iranian Foreign Minister Zarif sort of obliquely blaming the United States for the shooting down of the Ukrainian airliner by saying it was a result of a crisis set in motion by U.S. adventurism, i.e., the assassination of General Qasem Soleimani. One could certainly argue that the U.S. Action was at the root of the whole series of events that eventually resulted in the downing of the aircraft, perhaps an illustration of the law of unintended consequences, if you will. But I'm sure that the American officials, the U.S. President and his senior officials will push back against any implication that the U.S. was to blame in any way for this. But I think it's a subject that has come up in Canada in a press conference by Prime Minister Justin Trudeau on Thursday. He was pressed by Canadian journalists about the degree to which the United States and its actions had played a role in this eventual tragedy that claimed the lives of 63 Canadian citizens. So I think that's something to watch for, to see how this affects U.S.-Canadian relations. U.S.-Iranian relations, on the other hand, couldn't really be much worse, short of all-out war, which thankfully seems to have been averted. But nevertheless, the U.S. has piled on more sanctions today on the Iranian government, sanctioning 8 senior leaders in the government in Tehran, as well as the Iranian metals industry. This just the latest in a series of very heavy sanctions the United States has placed on Iran.
Rob Reynolds there for us in Washington, D.C. Thank you, Rob.
Now we're going to hear from a retired Navy psychologist, dealt with airmen and all kinds of stuff. Might as well have three opinions, right, guys?
Well, Iranian President Hassan Rouhani has just tweeted saying the armed forces in